You probably imagine that having an extremely high IQ makes life easier, better decisions, faster learning, clearer thinking, and in some ways, it does. But the research on people with genuinely high intelligence reveals something that almost nobody expects. The same cognitive capacity that makes them exceptional at certain things makes them quietly, persistently worse at others. Today, we're going inside the psychology of extremely high IQ and looking at what it actually costs. First, let's separate myth from reality. High IQ does not mean high emotional intelligence. The correlation between IQ and EQ is close to zero. High IQ does not mean high happiness. Studies consistently show no significant positive correlation between intelligence and life satisfaction above a moderate IQ threshold. And high IQ does not mean better relationships. If anything, the research points in the opposite direction. What high IQ does mean: unusually fast and deep pattern recognition, the ability to process complexity that most people can't, and, crucially, a mind that never fully turns off. That last one is where it gets complicated. Here's where it starts. High IQ individuals process more variables simultaneously than average intelligence people. This sounds like an advantage, and for complex analytical problems, it is. But for everyday decisions, relationships, and social situations, it becomes a source of constant low-level exhaustion. Psychologist Elaine Aron, whose research on high sensitivity closely maps onto high IQ populations, found that people who process deeply, who naturally consider more angles, more outcomes, more implications, spend significantly more cognitive energy on situations that others move through effortlessly, deciding where to eat, responding to a text, having a simple conversation. For a high IQ mind, nothing is simple. Everything has layers. Every layer generates a new question. The brain that solves complex problems for a living doesn't switch off when the problem is small. It applies the same depth to everything, and that is quietly exhausting. Here's the one that surprises people most. High IQ individuals frequently report difficulty connecting with people who process information differently, which, statistically, is almost everyone. This is not arrogance. It's a communication gap. When your brain naturally skips several steps in a reasoning chain, when conclusions arrive faster than most people can follow the logic. Explaining your thinking requires an act of deliberate translation that most people never have to perform. Psychologists studying intellectual giftedness call this the burden of translation, the constant effort of bridging between how you think and how the person in front of you thinks. Add to this a low tolerance for what feels like obvious errors in reasoning, a frustration when conversations stay at surface level, and a tendency to notice inconsistencies that others miss entirely. None of this makes them better people. It makes them lonely ones. Research consistently shows that extremely high IQ individuals report higher rates of social isolation, not because they dislike people, but because genuine intellectual connection is statistically rare. Here's the most counterintuitive finding. You would expect that high intelligence produces high confidence, that knowing more leads to believing more in yourself. The opposite is often true. Psychologist David Dunning of Dunning-Kruger fame has noted that genuine expertise and genuine intelligence tend to produce more awareness of what you don't know, not less. High IQ individuals see the gaps, they see the complexity, they see all the ways a conclusion could be wrong. And that awareness, which is actually a sign of sophisticated thinking, often registers internally as doubt. This is why many extremely intelligent people struggle with decisions that require confidence to act, why they revise and second-guess, why they can argue both sides of any position so effectively that they paralyze themselves. The mind that understands complexity is also the mind most aware of its own limitations. Here's the one nobody talks about. Research by psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski on intellectual giftedness identified something he called overexcitabilities, heightened sensitivities across multiple domains that appear significantly more frequently in high IQ populations. Emotional overexcitability, sensory overexcitability, imaginational overexcitability. In simple terms, the same neural architecture that processes information faster and more deeply, also processes emotional and sensory experience more intensely. High IQ individuals often feel things more than other people, more beauty, more injustice, more of other people's pain, more existential weight. They think about death more, about meaning more, about whether what they're doing matters. This is not pathology. It's the same depth of processing applied to life instead of problems, but it means they carry more feeling, more awareness, more of the world than most people around them ever see. So here's the full picture of extremely high IQ. Not a superpower, a specific cognitive profile with genuine strengths and genuine costs. The depth that solves complex problems also makes simple things exhausting. The speed that finds patterns also makes connection harder. The intelligence that sees everything also sees its own limitations clearly, and the sensitivity that drives insight also carries more of the world's weight. If you recognize yourself in any of this, you're not broken, you're just operating with a brain that processes more than the average environment is designed for. The task isn't to think less, it's to find the context, the people, the work, the environments, where the depth is an asset instead of a burden. High IQ is not what the movies show. It's not effortless brilliance and quiet confidence. It's a brain that never stops in a world that wasn't built for it. And the people who live with it, the ones who overthink, who struggle to connect, who doubt despite knowing more, they're not failing at being smart. They're succeeding at something most people never have to try. If this described someone you know or yourself, share it with them. And subscribe, because every week we go deeper into the behaviors, the patterns, the things about being human that nobody explains.